we have work to do because, as Mr. Kelly suggests, um, I agree with him in that the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, while not guaranteed by the federal government, certainly were taken over by the federal government and certainly were institutions that were created by federal mandate. And I remember when the secretary said, tell us about your losses, and the fact that did not happen in your institution with nearly $900 million worth of, uh, of equity that you had in Fannie and Freddie Mac when it all disappeared overnight. So I think that that's a very serious issue that we should take a look at. And I agree with Mr. Kelly when he talks about that the rules were changed. That is, the bigger, larger institutions were able to access by signing actually just a document, a sheet of paper, no larger than, and with probably fewer words than many of the sheets of paper that we have here before us in terms of our testimony, a simple signature, and billions of dollars were transferred to them. And that the rules changed and that smaller institutions that were out in the community didn't have access to that capital at the second place. So I think that's an important issue that we should. So I understand the basic unfairness. And Park National Bank within the holding company obviously had a stellar reputation and condition in terms of its relationship with the community, the geographical community that it represented. And I think it's fair. It might not be in the regulations, it might not be in the law, might not be what is stated, but it seems fair that if the FDIC sells an institution to, in this case, to U.S. Bank, that U.S. Bank consider what that institution was doing within the community when it acquired. So it not only acquires the accounts that were there and the assets that were there, but it also acquires the history of that institution and the relationship that institution had with that community. I think that that's important because what we're talking about, Mr. Austin, is not affecting your bank. What we're talking about is what you suggested earlier. Many of the larger banks are really investment banking firms, and that's where they're making their money. Because we see many of them, the larger, the ones that got the TARP money, they're lending less money. But what is curious to us and what we want to get down to is, if you're lending less money, but you're giving out billions of dollars of bonuses at the same time you're lending less money, then obviously you're profitable somewhere. But you're not profitable to the people that need, that is by lending money to people. So you must be making your money somewhere else while you're FDIC insured and while the federal government is standing behind you and while in many cases you receive TARP money. So it's really not the community bankers. I think we need to explore how it is we do ease up. But it's the large banks that got the TARP money, that survived, that brought us into this crisis, that today you read about it, billions of dollars in bonuses, handing out billions of dollars less in loans. So it seems to me you got the money, you're just not lending it, but you're keeping it in-house to give the billions of dollars of bonuses to your top employees while not creating any economic activity other than trading in equities, which I imagine is economic activity of a few people on Wall Street as they trade. But it doesn't create bakeries. It doesn't create homes. It doesn't create a hardware store. It doesn't create economic activity. It doesn't give somebody a truck that they might need so that they can start a landscaping service. I mean, the basic, fundamental kinds of things that people need and need access to capital. So having said that, Mr. Hartnett, I don't come to this at U.S. Bank, just so that we understand from the very beginning, in terms of what happened, in terms of making any judgments. But I would like to ask you, what has U.S. Bank done since it acquired the, the institution to keep that kind of faith and that kind of activity that was so well known and cherished with Park National Bank?